The letter was written in pencil. That was the first thing Ali's assistant noticed when she opened it. Not a pen, not the careful ballpoint of an adult composing correspondence with any expectation that it might be read. Pencil, on a single sheet of wide-ruled notebook paper, the kind that comes in pads sold at drugstore counters for $1.25, with the red margin line on the left and the faint blue lines across the page. The handwriting was slow and deliberate, in the way of a child who has been taught to form letters carefully, but whose hand is no longer fully cooperating with the instruction. The letter was from a boy named Marcus Webb. He was 9 years old. He lived in a small town in central Ohio called Caldwell, which had a population of approximately 1,800 people, and which most of the people in Muhammad Ali's professional world would not have been able to locate on a map of Ohio without assistance. Marcus Webb had been diagnosed 14 months earlier with a form of leukemia that his doctors had, by the time the letter was written, essentially stopped trying to defeat and were instead trying to manage toward the gentlest possible ending. He had not been in school for 4 months. He was writing the letter from a hospital bed. The letter said that Marcus had been watching Muhammad Ali on television since he was 7 years old. He said he thought Ali was the greatest person alive, not the greatest boxer. He was specific about this distinction, but the greatest person. He said he didn't know how to explain why, except that when he watched Ali talk, he felt like the world was larger than it usually felt, and that he was part of something larger than the hospital room he was in and the town he came from. He said his mother had told him that writing down what you felt sometimes helped when you couldn't say it out loud. He said he was writing this because he had a lot he felt and not much time left to feel it in. And he thought Muhammad Ali should know that he had made a difference to one boy who was going to die soon and who was less afraid because of it. Your biggest fan, Marcus Webb, age 9. Below the signature, he had drawn a small boxing glove in pencil. Ali's assistant read the letter twice before she put it on Ali's desk. She had been in this position for 3 years and had sorted through tens of thousands of pieces of correspondence, and had developed, through that sorting, a reliable instinct for what needed Ali's direct attention and what could be handled through the standard response channels. This letter was not a standard response letter. She knew that before she reached the second paragraph. She put it at the top of the pile, with nothing written on it and no instructions attached, because no instructions were necessary. Ali would know what to do. He read it that evening. He read it standing at his desk, rather than sitting, which was how he sometimes read things, when what he was reading required more than a certain kind of attention. His manager was in the room. Ali read it once through without speaking. Then he read it again. Then he set it down and looked at his manager and said, "Where is Caldwell, Ohio?" His manager said he would find out. Ali said, "Find out tonight, and find out which hospital." The manager found out. Caldwell was 240 miles away. The hospital where Marcus Webb was receiving treatment was a larger regional medical center in Zanesville, Ohio, 38 miles from Caldwell, because Caldwell itself was too small to have a facility that could handle what Marcus needed. Ali said, "What do I have Thursday?" His manager described Thursday's schedule. It included a morning meeting with a promotional team that had been scheduled for 6 weeks, an afternoon appearance at a sports charity event organized months in advance, and an early evening call with a network executive about a project that required Ali's direct input before it could proceed. "Move Thursday," his manager said. "Ali, we can't just move Thursday. Call the people and move it." There was a pause. The manager had been in this position long enough to know that when Ali used that particular tone, the conversation about the thing he was declining to do was over. He said, "I'll make the calls." Ali said, "Don't tell them why. Just say, something came up." He did not want a press release. He did not want a publicist arranging the visit so that it could be documented and shared. He did not want photographers or a camera crew or any of the infrastructure that had become the default context for everything he did publicly. He wanted to get in a car and drive to a hospital in Zanesville, Ohio, and sit beside a 9-year-old boy who had written him a letter in pencil from a hospital bed. And he wanted to do that without any of it becoming a story that was about Muhammad Ali rather than about Marcus Webb. His manager called the hospital. This required navigating several layers of administration and eventually reached the head of the pediatric oncology ward, a woman named Dr. Patricia Hollis, who was told that Muhammad Ali would like to visit a patient named Marcus Webb on Thursday afternoon and that the visit would be private and unannounced. Dr. Hollis said she would need to confirm this was not a prank. Ali's manager arranged for Ali himself to get on the phone, which settled the question. Dr. Hollis called Marcus Webb's mother. Her name was Eleanor Webb. She was 31 years old and had been driving to the hospital every day for 14 months and sleeping there on most of the nights. She had written nothing and told no one and had not done anything to draw attention to her son's situation. Marcus had written the letter himself, addressed it himself, stamped it himself with a stamp from his mother's purse that she had not known was missing. He had not told her he was writing it. When Dr. Hollis called Eleanor Webb to tell her that Muhammad Ali was coming on Thursday, Eleanor Webb said nothing for 11 seconds. Dr. Hollis later told a colleague that she had never in her medical career heard a silence that contained that much inside it. Then Eleanor said, "He's actually coming?" Dr. Hollis said yes. Eleanor said, "Thursday?" Dr. Hollis said Thursday afternoon, around 2 o'clock. Eleanor said, "Don't tell Marcus. He'll spend the next 3 days so excited he won't sleep and his numbers will go wrong. Don't tell him until he gets here." Marcus Webb did not know Muhammad Ali was coming until Thursday afternoon at 2:14, when the door of his hospital room opened and Muhammad Ali walked through it. Marcus did not speak immediately when Ali came in. He had been sitting up in bed reading a comic book when the door opened. He looked at the door. He looked at the man who had come through it. He looked back at his mother, who was standing in the corner of the room with her hand over her mouth. Then he looked at Muhammad Ali again for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, "You're real." Ali sat down in the chair beside the bed. "Last time I checked. I wrote you a letter. I know. I read it 3 times. 3 times? You said things in it that I needed to hear. Not many 9-year-olds can write something that Muhammad Ali needs to hear." Eleanor Webb said later that what happened over the next 2 hours was the hardest thing she had ever watched, and also the most beautiful thing she had ever watched, and that she had not known until that afternoon that something could be both of those things at the same time so completely. Ali sat with Marcus for 2 hours. He talked about boxing and about what it felt like to be inside a ring when you knew you were going to win and when you didn't know. He talked about fear and about what he had learned from being afraid. He talked about his faith and about what he believed waited on the other side of things, in the language he used when he was not performing for anyone, but simply saying what he believed. He told Marcus things he had not said in any interview, in the particular way that people say things to someone who has a limited amount of time that they do not say to people for whom time feels endless. At some point, Marcus fell asleep. He fell asleep in the middle of a sentence, the way children do when their bodies override their intentions. Ali sat for a few minutes after Marcus fell asleep and did not move. Then he stood up very carefully so as not to wake him. He looked at Marcus for a moment. Then he turned to Eleanor. "You raised someone remarkable. Whatever else happens, whatever comes, you raised someone remarkable. And what he said in that letter, about being less afraid because of something I did, I want you to know that what he said in this room today did the same thing for me." Eleanor Webb did not speak. She put her hand on Ali's arm, and she nodded, and that was the whole of the exchange. Ali left the hospital at 4:37. He got back in the car. His manager, who had been waiting in the hospital lobby, said nothing on the drive back. They drove for 40 minutes before Ali said anything. Then he said, not to his manager specifically, but to the car and the road and whatever was listening, "That boy is braver than I have ever been in my life. I want you to know that I believe that completely." Marcus Webb died 11 weeks after the visit, on a Tuesday afternoon in March, in the hospital room where Ali had sat beside him. He was 9 years old. He had spent the last 11 weeks, by his mother's account, talking about the visit with a quality of happiness that did not fit what she had expected happiness to look like in those circumstances. Eleanor Webb sent a note to Ali after Marcus died. She said the visit had given Marcus something she had not been able to give him, and that she had not known existed until it arrived. She said he had not been afraid at the end, not in the way he had been afraid before. She said she did not know exactly what Ali had said to him in the hours they talked, but whatever it was, it had done what her 14 months of love and presence had not been able to fully do. She said she was grateful in a way that she did not have words for, and that she hoped he understood that the gratitude was real even without the words. Ali kept the note. He kept it in the same place he kept Marcus's original letter. He never spoke about the visit publicly, not in a single interview, not in any of the many conversations about his charitable work and his relationship with the public and the people he had touched over the course of his career. He never mentioned Caldwell, Ohio, or Marcus Webb, or the Thursday when he moved his schedule and drove 240 miles to sit beside a boy who had been less afraid because of something Ali had done, and who made Ali less afraid in return. The only reason we know about any of it is because Eleanor Webb, in 2003, spoke about it to a local journalist, writing a piece about families who had lost children to cancer, and the unexpected things that had helped them survive those losses. She said one of the unexpected things was that Muhammad Ali had driven to a hospital in Zanesville, Ohio, on a Thursday afternoon to read her son's own words back to him. She said the journalist could include it if they wanted to. She said Marcus would have wanted people to know. If this story reached something in you, if you believe the world should know not just what Muhammad Ali did in the ring, but what he did in a hospital room in Ohio for a boy who had almost no time left, share it today. And leave a comment. Has anyone ever shown up for you, or someone you love, in a way you were not expecting? Because that is what Muhammad Ali did for Marcus Webb. He had looked at the worst thing that can happen to a child, and found inside it a reason to reach outward, to give,